Morning and Jai Hind students. Uh, this is Kanchan here, your English teacher, and Memories of Childhood. This chapter we will discuss, and I will describe this chapter, explain this chapter, and this chapter is from the book Vistas, chapter 8. And this chapter deals two stories about the memories of childhood of two writers, Jeet Kalasa and Bama. So, in this chapter, we will read two stories. So, it is about the authors. This unit presents autobiographical episodes from the lives of two women from marginalized communities who look back on their childhood and reflect on their relationship with the mainstream culture. The first account is by an American Indian woman born in the late 19th century, and the second is by a contemporary Dalit writer. Gertrude Simons Bonin was born in 1876, was an extraordinarily talented and educated Native American woman who struggled and triumphed in a time when severe prejudice prevailed towards Native American culture and women. As a writer, she adopted the pen name Jeet Kalasa. It means Simon had written with the pen name Jeet Kalasa, and in 1900 she began she wrote, and her stories began publishing articles criticizing the Carlisle Indian School. She criticized Carlisle School for its custom, its things that were happening there, activities or things that were not to accept. She had criticized. Her work criticized dogma, and her life as a Native American woman was dedicated against the evils of oppression. So, Bama is the pen name of a Tamil Dalit woman from a Roman Catholic family. She has published three main works: an autobiography, Karukku in 1992, a novel Sangati in 1994, and a collection of short stories Kusumbukaran in 1996. The following excerpt has been taken from Karukku. Karukku means palmyra leaves, which with their serrated edges on both sides are like double-edged swords. By a felicitous pun, the Tamil word karukku containing the word karu, embryo or seed, also means freshness and then newness. So we will see. This is the first story, and when she went to her school, then what happened there? Jeet Kalasa has shared this. This is by Jeet Kalasa. The title is The Cutting of My Long Hair. The first day in the land of apples was a bitter cold, for the snow still covered the ground and the trees were bare. So it was snowing all around and it was chilled, and a large bell rang. She was in the school, and the long bell rang for breakfast. Its loud metallic voice was crashing through the belfry overhead and into our sensitive ears. The annoying clatter of shoes on bare means students, they were walking there, they were on the floor. For that reason, the clattering sound of their shoes was clear. The annoying clatter of shoes on bare floors gave us no peace. Means she was not liking that. A pale faced woman with white hair came up after us and we were placed in a line of girls who were marching into the dining room. Means they were going to the dining room and to take their lunch. The small girls wore sleeved aprons and shingled hair. As I walked noiselessly in my soft moccasins, I felt like sinking to the floor because it was the first time, and she was nervous too, for my blanket had been stripped from my shoulders. I looked hard at the Indian girls who seemed not to care that they were even more immodestly dressed than they didn't dress in a like we can see that it is comfortable for everyone, and in their tightly fitting clothes they were sitting. While we marched in, the boys entered in an opposite door. At an opposite door, I watched for the three young braves who came in our party. I spied them in a rear ranks, looking as uncomfortable as I felt. A small bell was tapped, and each of the pupils drew a chair from there. Means this was the indication that they have to draw their chair to sit. Supposing this act meant they were to be seated, I pulled out mine and at once slipped into it from my side. As she also sat down on the chair. Then just I began to rise, looking shyly means Sharmana, around to see how chairs were to be used. A second bell was sounded. All were seated at last, and I had to crawl back into my chair again. I heard a man's voice at one end of the hall, and I looked around to see that all the others hung their heads over their plates. All the students, they were eating, and I, as Jeet Kalasa glanced at the long chain of tables, I caught the eye of a pale face woman upon me. Means a pale faced woman was looking at her. Immediately I dropped my eyes, wondering why I was so nearly. Means she was thinking why the lady was staring at her. Then she began crying instead, for by this time I was afraid to venture anything more. By this eating by formula was not the hardest trial in the first day. Late in the morning, my friend Judwin gave me a terrible warning. She told, "You have your long hair, and long hair will be cut." And our mothers had taught us that only unskilled warriors who were captured had their hair shingled. So she was saying कि why should I cut my hair, because it is not something that is uncultured, but opposite to who are warriors or who are not there in this teaching or in this student life, they have to be shingled. But among our people, short hair was worn by mourners and shingled hair by cowards. It is means her mother believed. We discussed our fate some moments, means her friend told, and she was also not wishing to let her hair cut, but she couldn't do anything. She rebelled. No, I will not submit, means I will not let them to cut my hair. I will struggle first. I will struggle not to let them cut. Then I watched my chance, and when no one noticed, I disappeared. I crept up. See here, she had kept hidden herself under the bed to not to be identified, not to be there to be seen by them, because they were searching her to cut her hair. I found a large room with 3 white beds in it. The windows were covered with dark green curtains, means dark curtains were there, darkness was there. So thankful that no one was there, and she crept there under the bed, and she was there keeping herself hidden. From my hiding place I peered out. Peered means to peep, jhankna. Whenever I heard footsteps nearby, though in the hall loud voice were calling my name, means they were calling her name because they were searching to cut her hair. Then I didn't open my mouth to answer. Then the steps were quickened, and all the ladies, they were coming to the room where she was there, under the bed, जहाँ पर वो छिपी हुई थी वहाँ पर वो लोग आ रही थी सीज़र लेकर के कट करने के लिए. द साउंड्स केम नियरर एंड नियरर. women and girls entered the room. I held my breath and watched them open closet doors and peep behind large trunks. So she held her breath. She didn't want them to her to find out. वो नहीं चाहती थी वो लोग उसको ढूंढें. And someone threw up the curtain. किसी ने curtain open कर दिया, draw कर दिया, side कर दिया. Then the light was there, and what caused them to stoop? And then stoop means bend. वो नीचे उन लोगों ने झांक कर देखा, and in that way they found her. I remember being dragged. Dragged means खींच कर बाहर निकालना. They dragged her out, though I resisted by kicking. Resisted means she opposed. Kicking and scratching wildly. Wildly means जंगली की तरह से उसने scratching की, kicking की अपने को बचाने के लिए, but nothing could happen. I was carried downstairs and tied fast in the chair. उसको एक चेयर पर बांध दिया गया उनको, जीत कलासा को, and she was there carried downstairs to cut her hair. I cried aloud. बहुत ज़ोर से चिल्लाई, shaking my head all the while, until I felt the cold blades of the scissors. And then scissors were there cutting her hair. She couldn't save her hair. Then I lost my spirit. Since the day I was taken from my mother, I had suffered extreme indignities. And now she is sharing कि मैं जब से वहाँ से गई तब से मुझे बहुत ही ज़्यादा indignities का मीन्स होता है मुझे shameful conditions face करनी पड़ी. People had stared me at me. वो लोग ध्यान से देख रहे थे मेरी ओर घूर करके. I had been tossed about in the air like a wooden puppet. लोगों ने मुझे उछाल दिया. And now my long hair was स्ट्रिंगल्ड लाइक अ कावर्ड्स, क्योंकि उसकी मदर कहती थी कि जिनके बाल छोटे होते हैं कावर्ड के बाल छोटे होते हैं. एंड इन माई इंग्लिश आई मोन्ड मीन्स होता दुख होना, दुखी होना, रोना, दुख से रोना, विलाप करना. फॉर हर मदर टू बी देयर बट नथिंग कुड बी देयर हैपेंड, एंड नॉट अ सोल reasoned quietly with me as my own mother used to. For now I was only one of my little animals driving. I was only one of many little animals driven by a herder. Now she is comparing herself with little animals which are driven by a herder. Herder means जो एक herd होता है, ग्रुप को ड्राइव इन करते हैं, उसको ले जाते हैं, तो उन्होंने अपने को एक एनिमल से कंपेयर किया. So here she has expressed her pain, anguish that she had felt at that time. उनको ये बहुत बुरा लगा. She felt being discriminated as she was not their American. She was Native American there, and in that way she had expressed her suffering, pain, her own experience she felt at that time. So this is the first story, and second story I will discuss later. So this is all about memories of childhood. First story is this, cutting hair, and second one will be again about caste discrimination. So okay students, thank you and Jai Hind.